Wow, look, we've got it all set up perfectly tonight. Brilliant. So,
yeah, that was after you faffing around for 10 minutes.
Well, I was faffing around, yeah, admittedly. I was having a good old faff. Anyway.
I just turned my cameras on and here I am.
I had to go upstairs and choose which of my marvellous Italeri 60th anniversary T-shirts I was going to wear. So tonight I'm wearing this one because it's the only one I've got. So
I was going to say, you have multiple Italeri 60th anniversary shirts.
Just the one. These are beautiful, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned I got this when I went down to the Tank Museum on Tuesday, but these are absolutely just lovely. I love the colour. I love the piping, the red and green and the blue piping. Sorry, the red, white, and the green piping. I just absolutely fell in love with this. Not that we're doing an literary love-in tonight, but we are talking about a lot of Italeri kits tonight, so it's purely by coincidence. So what happens when you kind of team up with somebody who works for Italeri? So there we go. Anyway, welcome to tonight's show, everybody. What are we going to talk about tonight, Drew? Apart from doing some unboxing,
I don't know. You're the boss. I'm just here. I'm just the hired help.
You hear that? I'm
not
the
really,
boss.
not really. Yeah, not really hired. I just like to kind of show up. Usually, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, no. Well, we pay you in cake. Come on.
That's been a long time. That's been a long time since I had cake.
February.
Yeah,
February.
There you go.
We'll pay you in cake. We'll pay you in cake. Unfortunately, you're not coming to Avon the week after next, but I'm sure we'll.
No. I mean, I think what Roy Sutherland has experienced after the US Nationals kind of reinforces why, doesn't it? You know.
And Roy was being sensible.
My initial argument over why I wasn't due to the model show and the related costs in April for me, of kind of like being reinforced by Roy Sutherland's bout of COVID post US Nationals. It's like you've got to pick your social engagements now, based on proximity to other engagements that might be more important, and your own health.
Yeah,
if I come back from Bloodstock with COVID, that's fine. I can have time off sick. If I go to a model show the week before and then catch COVID the week I'm supposed to be going to a festival, it's a write-off, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
I completely understand, Drew. I really do.
The US Nationals appear to have been a more or less a super spreader event.
Yeah.
So it kind of reinforces my my point.
Well, I'm still desperately trying to avoid it full stop at the moment. So yeah, exactly.
It's for the best. I don't. It wasn't life threatening, but I don't recommend it. It wasn't a fun week.
No.
So.
Right. Well, I've got my workshop camera set up here tonight, and we've got 4 kits to look at. We've touched on the show before, but I thought it would be fun to actually look at them in the flesh, so to speak. So with in no particular order, as in there is a particular order and I'm keeping my favourites till last, we are going to leap ahead and what do you know, the camera stopped working again. There's a thing. Oh, for goodness sake. Hang about, Drew.
How do you manage to make your camera so useless?
Honestly, it was working before the show and we were all good and it was all fine. And then suddenly it just stops working again. You talk to the good people. I'm going to go and have a faff around and try and get.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments, and Mike Reeves there saying 16 people have had it post nationals. Another person there saying won the lottery at the Nats. Dan Wood there. Yeah. Yeah, any large gathering of people outside of work seems to it's an obvious vector for the virus. So, as I've already explained, it cost me a lot of money in April catching that after going to a very, very small local model show. Cost me a lot of money in airline tickets and gig tickets and hotels and stuff. So, yeah, I mean that's just because obviously with a thoroughly international audience, there's a lot of people who were at the US Nationals last week who were saying, "Yeah, me as well."
Be interesting to see. I'd be interested to see Ivan's experiences when he comes back.
Yeah, he's not impressed to be home, is he?
Why not? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this soggy little island of ours?
Well, yes.
Or not even soggy, crispy at the moment.
Yeah, crispy little island. Yeah, I don't think he's very happy to be home.
Okay. Well, look, here we go.
But, hey, that's what holidays are about, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's try and put a smile on his face, and
they still haven't corrected it, have they?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. It's
let it go, Drew. Let it go.
No.
Let it go. Right. No. We've got the Italeri Wessex UH5. UH5. HU. Oh, it's all right. Just jab yourself in the nethers with a scalpel. What did you do on Wednesday? I don't know. It was grim. So we've got this Italeri. This is their Wessex UH5, HU5, really. And, well, don't worry, Drew. I am going to get all the bits out of the plastic bags because I know you hate those kind of YouTube reviews where people are showing you plastic in a plastic bag. And I've had you sat in my front room, bits of onion bhaji flying out of your mouth as you scream at the television, get it out of the box. So we're not going to make that mistake.
Yeah, well, it's not an unreasonable request, is it?
A bit like, please don't talk with your mouth full. You're spitting onion bhaji all over my front room. So I don't think that's an unreasonable request. But anyway, I've got the clear parts out. Anyway, look, here we go. Let's get on with the meat and potatoes of the show tonight, or indeed the onion bhaji and Bombay potatoes of tonight's show. Here we go. So this is Italeri's Wessex. What year did this come out, Drew? Remind me.
I think it was about 2010, 2011, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's actually a very nice little model. And I've seen some absolutely superb models built from it.
Now, as you can see, it's got recessed panel lines, but it also has some rather nifty recessed rivet detail as well. Now, people argue it should be raised. I'm not going to naysay them, but what I am going to say is that compared to some of the Italeri helicopter kits where they haven't put any rivet detail in, this is a welcome return to form in some respects.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I like it. I have both boxings of this here at home. I have the 3 and the 5, and I've always been. I like it. Helicopters are the one area where, for me, Italeri can still pull out the bag when they put their minds to it. And this, for me, was one very much where they did just that.
I'll tell you what I like about this, because well, let's put it this way: we've got to build one of these. One of us has got to build one of these for Telford. And what I like about it is, and we'll show everybody at home here, is there's your fuselage sprue. There is your nose sprue and kind of cockpit interior and bits and pieces. Then you have your two rotor sprues, which are just straight repeats.
Yeah, rotors, wheels, interior bits that are duplicated.
The clear parts, and that's it.
It's a very simple build, isn't it? It's a very simple kit.
And it does look. I know sometimes people do like to have a bit of a rip on Italeri because some of their stuff can sometimes be a bit clunky. This isn't. This is actually finessed. I'm really quite taken with this. I mean, I'm thinking of things like the this will get your back up. I'm thinking of things like the Chinook, which I seem to remember you started building about 2 years ago, and that was as far as you got with it.
Oh, it's awful.
It is.
Sorry, it's just no, I say Italy can pull it out the bag when they put their mind to it, but I'm afraid that 48 Chinook is another example of where the 48 scale Chinook market is still wide open.
Yeah, but no, this is actually rather nice, and like I say, it doesn't look. It almost. I'm going to whisper it. It's almost kind of like years ago. This would have been. This is what 72nd scale kits would have been like. Their 72nd scale kits would have been like. It doesn't. It's there's nothing wrong with this. I like it, and actually, I am. I'm. If we can't find anyone in between us and our kind of like our little group who wants to build it, and bear in mind when we say somebody who's going to build it, we need somebody who's going to build it, then actually physically give the model back to us. Then I think we're going to have to kind of like. Either draw straws or I'll just build it myself.
I'll build it. I'll give it a go.
All right, there you go. We've got to take it. Drew's going to build that.
I'll slam that together. That's I mean that looks like a simple enough build, but that's going to be a reasonably quick build, and will look really good on the back of it. So
yeah, especially if you spence it. Just kind of like build it in quick sub-assemblies. Well, that's fine. That means then we've got an excuse to meet up. Possibly after Bloodstock, you can have this, and you can have your Wingsy 109 as well. Have you seen your Wingsy 109, by the way?
Only by camera.
Okay. I might do another live on that one tonight, just to whet your appetite. But yeah, it's this. Nothing wrong with this. This is a good standard for a helicopter, and the fact that it is slightly. I'll qualify this. If I say it's slightly simplified, I don't mean it's crude. I mean Italy haven't kind of, they haven't done a mini art. They haven't kind of like done overly complicated it. Let's put it that way.
This is what I would. This is a Jeep, isn't it? Just enough essential parts.
Yeah, just enough essential parts. There we go. So that's the rotors there. We've got the nose sprue here.
Belly panel,
belly panel, everything. Some interior, the crew compartment seats and everything. So that's that. Then we've got the clear parts. So I've taken the clear parts out of the bag, but I'll put them back in. They look fine. They're not overly thick, to be honest with you. You're always up against it with injection molded parts. What I do like is the way they've done the glazing. The framing is actually in a slightly kind of frosted effect.
Yeah, it looks nice and sharp. I like that.
Like I say, I've got both boxing.
I've got both boxings sat in the other room there, but I've just after initially getting them when they were released, I've never really paid much attention to them. But I mean, there was a flurry of absolutely fantastic detail parts for this when it was released.
Yeah.
Remember that somebody did the whole folded rotor trestle, didn't they, and stuff like that. In fact, I think my brother's used that. I think Rory's built that and used that. Now, bear in mind with this model, you can't do an HC2 from it due to the window.
I get the funny feeling that your orders, such as they are, will probably be to do a Falklands one.
Yeah, I would have thought the Falklands one makes most sense.
I think it does make most sense.
But yeah, you can't see you can't build an HC2 from it because the window arrangement is wrong. Although that said, once the HU5 was retired from service, a lot of them went to the RAF, so you will see RAF camouflaged HU5s, shall we say? So you have to check the serial number on that to see if the original was an HU5 or an HC2. But yeah, no, it's a nice basic looking kit that looks like it'll go together well. It's a Wessex, isn't it? So it's just classy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's that. So, there we go. And there's the decal sheet, which I've just had a quick look at, and I got to say, I have to look that up. That XV719, I'm rather curious what's going on with the 9 there. It probably is correct. XV719. Let me just look that up on the internet, because that does look a bit. That looks a bit odd, but I'm sure I'm sure Italy have got a good reason as to why they've done it that way. Bear with. I'm just going through the. I can't find any pictures at the moment, but we will have a look and we'll see what we can do with that. But overall, there's nothing that leaps out immediately, he said, and then what immediately leaps out is things like the O in the the thing that leaps out is that all the letters in Royal Air Force and Rescue they should be an equal width, and some of these aren't. And there are some style questions on some of the things like the serial numbers and things. I'd have to go away and have a look at them, because my gut feeling is that some of these, to the layman, they probably look right. To me, and you know how finicky I can be about kind of like characters in serial numbers and code letters and things like that. Something here doesn't quite. It's got my spidey senses tingling. Let's put it that way. But I'm, like I say, it's nothing. I'm sure most people will build this, and they probably won't care that, say the serial number here isn't quite correct, in terms of the actual style. But me, that's my métier. That's my thing. But other than that, no, it looks fine. The colours look fine. The proportions to the D roundels look okay. Oh, we have somebody joining us. Interesting thing is that the roundels on the rescue one here, they're actually in a darker red than the.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go out and research that and find out what that is. It could be it is correct. It could be perhaps Italy have slightly misunderstood slightly misunderstood a bit of information. So anyway, we are now joined all the way from Shropshire by Mr. Spencer Pollard Esquire.
Shropshire.
Evening, fellas.
Evening.
How are we doing?
How are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm good. Yes, good. Yeah, not bad.
Qualified good. That was a kind of like, yeah, I'm good.
Yes.
Yeah, Spencer's had a decoltastic couple of days.
Yeah, it's been quite the day, really. Yes, one of those days when you sort of question a number of things, really.
You want me to go and grab the pictures, Spencer, and you can just get in there and start wrestling this particular bear to the ground?
I've been saying this for years. I've been saying this for years since they started doing it.
I do feel like I'm jumping on the bandwagon kind of thing with this whole debate, really. So, and I apologize for all of that.
Oh, now people are listening to us.
Oh yeah. Spence comes in and he starts.
Spence comes in and suddenly everybody's listening. Me, I've been shouting into the void for 2 years.
This is like that fast show sketch where it's I can't think what the name of the actress is, but she's people are asking questions and she's talking and everybody ignores her, and then one of the men will say something and they go, "Oh, that's a good point," and she's going, "Am I here? Do I exist?" And Arabella Weir, that's the name of the actress. She's it's very, very funny. Right, okay, let's bring these pictures up, and then Spence can let loose the Kraken, quite frankly, because I think in this case, I think the Kraken definitely does deserve to be loosed, because for goodness sake, I just called up those pictures and they didn't download, so we'll try again. Talk about it, Spence, and I'll grab the pictures.
Yeah. So anybody that's kind of been following my nonsense over the last couple of weeks knows that I've got a book. We talked about it, and the book was complete. And then a suggestion was made that I build the Edward Spitfire Mark 1 for the book. So I ordered a weekend edition. Kit came and I built it, and you've seen the photographs. Now, the issue that came up with this kit was that I had to then face the decals that are in the kit and Edward's new sort of
printing
and manufacture, which drew the fella above me has been talking about endlessly now into the void for 2 years, and I apologize for kind of raining on his parade over all of this. I mean not to do that. And so I'd read a lot about these decals. I'd seen videos, the whole 9 yards and everything. Drew and I talked about them, and So what happened was I got a painted model, and I needed to apply some stickers to it. So I decided that what I would do was I would experiment slightly with some of the other designs that were on the sheet and see how these decals operated and the way they were. So because my job is to basically to be as honest as I can and to talk about these things as honest as I can and not make prejudgments based on other people's information, but make the judgments based on my experience. So although Drew had spoken to me about this and said, here you go, Spence, this is what I've done, this is how this is operated, all that sort of stuff, I needed to give that a go. And I was open about this last week. I didn't get on with them at all. Didn't like them. And if for anybody that's not used these decals, basically they're kind of printed upside down from what I can see. That the design is printed onto the decal paper, and then over the top of that, the carrier film, which would normally be under the ink, is above the ink. And then once you've applied the decals as in a normal way, you then should be able to remove the carrier film to leave the design, the inked design on the model without any evidence of carrier film in place. HGW have been doing this for a while with their wet decals, and so it's not a new process. It's new to Edouard. So I thought, well, okay, well, how hard can that be? Well, the first hurdle I had was I couldn't remove the carrier film at all. I really struggled to get that off. I found a way today to do that, which was kind of okay and allowed me to take it off. But that was first hurdle. But the real issue with these decals, and I've talked about this today, and it would appear that lots of other people have talked about this today, is the printing quality on these decals is terrible at the moment. It's not the problem isn't with the carrier film. The problem is with the printing. This is a close-up of two of the markings that I would have used on my Spitfire had I used the kit decals. Now, that's obviously an enlargement many times magnified, so you can kind of see. But you can see that in reality, full size on the sheet. You can get a sense of the problems with these decals. Those are supposed to be solid grey numbers that go on the side of the fuselage, and as you can see, they look more like fabric straps than they do actual painted numerals. They have this bizarre letratone effect all over them, which are created from digital printing, from what I can see, where you've got many thousands of dots all intermeshed together, which in itself would be annoying and in itself would be not that great. But then you've got what looks like they've printed a black background, so every single letter is edged in black, and you can see that. And then they've got this kind of bizarre, what looks like stitching around it as well. It literally looks like a stitched artifact
that stitching, Spence, is literally an artifact of the sort that you get with 3D printing. Yeah. And the other thing is, looking at that diagonal pattern across the decal is very reminiscent of their coloured photo etch pattern.
Yep.
Yes, it's almost identical.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to say is that the reason why the outer edges are darker is because what you're seeing there is the white color trap in the middle in order to lighten. This is industry secret here, folks. That when you're printing decals, you often have to back things with a white background. We call it a trap. And so in order to get colors to have the vibrancy, they have to have a white background. So you print the white first, then you print the other colors over the top. If you're printing silkscreen decals, you tend to have a trap of about 0.06 millimeters. It's very, very slight. And if you were to blow up a water slide decal, you probably could just see a slight step and a slight darkening around the edge of the color, but it's almost immaterial because of the solidness of screen printing. When you're doing this kind of thing, where you're doing process printing, no, it falls apart.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought about that, Drew, to be honest. But now you mention it, it is very similar to their color etch printing on where and it looks like as well. You can see where it's been printed in essentially fine lines, printed lines. You can see the lines running through the design. And you very much get this. It's almost identical, actually. Now that you've mentioned it, and yeah, I wish I'd noticed this earlier on when I was writing it up, but it is almost identical to that layering that you get, and that pixelated coloration that you get on color etch. Now you can see from this image that those decals have settled down really nicely on that paintwork. This is I basically just blatted on some. This is just gull grey or something, just a gloss grey that I sprayed onto the model that had a bit of brown from the residue from the airbrush. That's why it's this odd colour. But it was a satin finish. It wasn't high gloss or anything like that. And you can see that actually once that film's been removed, that they look really nice in place. They look great. They're settled down nicely. They settled down over the detail, and they do look painted on, in inverted commas. But that's irrelevant to me, because unless those decals look like they have solid color, like they're in proper register and they are consistent across each one, I could apply the entire sheet of decals and have them look perfect on the model and have it look like I've airbrushed every single thing on the surface of that model. But if they all end up looking like that, I may as well just repaint it. It just doesn't work at all.
I had absolutely, when these were initially released in the first couple of releases, I really struggled, like with the Z37, to remove the backing film without damaging the decals.
Yeah.
So that was as big an issue as the printing at that point. Now, the last decals of these I used were on the CS199 last month, and in terms of their performance, they've come on massively. I had absolutely no problems whatsoever using a little bit of microsol rather than no actual softening solution, just microsol to settle the decals in. And the carrier film just peeled straight off without any problems whatsoever afterwards. So, which has led me to my subsequent observation that the decal technology for actually using them and removing the film is a side issue. The printing is the issue here, not the method of application, because that is much better than it used to be. The actual issue is how incredibly poor the printing quality of these decals is. And
I mean, we had quite a long conversation 6 months ago, maybe even longer than that, 12 months ago on the show, talking about a couple of Hella kits that we bought at the time. I picked up, I bought a F-84 Thunderjet, and I think I bought a helicopter. I bought the Alouette, I think. And John may have bought the Saab, whatever it was.
That one, yeah.
And one of the things that we said was that the decals were terrible in it, and they would need to be replaced, but Hella decals being the way that Hella decals were, it was kind of what we expected, because Hella decals have always been rubbish. The Hella decals are the same as these in terms of their printing quality. These are in register, which is a slight step up from the Hella decals, which as we remember looks very cross-eyed in some places. But I mean, there's listen, I get it. There's an argument that people say, well, yeah, but you don't normally blow markings up to that sort of size to look at how pixelated everything is. Yeah, but if I can see it on the sheet, if I can see that, I had 4 sets of decals in front of me. I had the Edward sheet, I had John's Mark 1 sheet from the Airfix kit, I had extra decal sheet, and I had Tamiya's sheet in front of me, or residue, sort of remnants of each of those. The latter 3 were literally head and shoulders. They were like on another planet in comparison. Now, those decals might work if I wanted to do a faded out wreck on an airfield that where all the paint's all faded out, and it doesn't work if I want full color markings on something.
No, I mean the problem is that people, people are saying, "Oh, yeah, but you don't normally look at them that close." But you don't have to look at them that close. It's obvious there's a problem with the quality of the printing on the sheet. All we're doing is throwing that into sharp relief by showing a really high magnification of it to just throw into sharp relief what the issue is. But it's completely visible to the naked eye.
It is, yeah,
completely visible to the naked
the thing
eye.
is, and what's frustrating for me is that the Eduard Spitfire Mark 1, stroke Mark 5, stroke Mark 9, stroke Mark whatever, Spitfires that they do, as a family of kits, as a family of models, they are the best you can buy in 48th, bar none. The Spitfire Mark 1 and Mark 5 is the best kit of those two variants in 48 scale extant today. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
I would argue in any scale. They're the best kits.
Yeah,
they're the best kits of those marks in any scale.
Yeah, I mean, the Tamiya Mark 1 is lovely, but the Eduard kit is a step on. It's a better kit, in terms of surface detail, in terms of just the way that it looks once it's finished. That that kit is spoilt for a ha'porth of tar by these decals, because every time I'm thinking I want to build a Spitfire Mark 1, I'd like to build the Mark 5 as well. I'm thinking, I want to build the Mark 5. I'm thinking, right, have I got aftermarket decals for that? Because I can't use kit decals. Now, that's fine if you've got a model like a Spitfire or a Hurricane or a Mustang or whatever, where you've got a plethora of choices, of decals that you can choose from. But Eduard do some extremely esoteric Czechoslovakian subjects where there's no aftermarket decals at all. There's nothing that you can replace what's in the box with something else, and where'd you go then? There's a couple of things that I'd love to build. That little 2-seat trainer that they've just done, which is beautiful from what I can see.
The Czech Monk?
Yeah, the Czech Monk looks fabulous. Where am I going to get decals for that? Because I wouldn't trust those decals, the decals from here. And it puts me in an invidious position, I appreciate, because I am vocally critical of these decals at the moment. And I've written about them, and I wrote 1,200 words. That's a lot as a subsection. I wrote 1,200 words for my new book on just that decal sheet today, on the issues that I had with that decal sheet today. So it's going to be out there. It's going to be, and people are going to say, "Oh, you're just ragging on Eduard. You're a Tamiya fanboy. You're just ragging on Eduard." No, I'm ragging on this. This is not good.
No, it's and it goes back to the discussion that I've seen had, and I totally agree with. If there's some things released in a new technology, if 99% of people are fine with it and 1% are having a problem, the person is probably the problem.
Yeah.
If it's the other way round, or if you're even roughly approaching 50% of people are fine and 50% are struggling, there's a problem with the product.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, in here with these, there is a problem with the product. Yeah. Now, Eduard, and particularly Eduard's, owner, stroke managing director, there's a degree of ego, stroke arrogance there with him, which a lot of it is completely justified because they're phenomenal kits. But it means that often they're very, very slow to react to what is a genuine issue. Because they, we've seen it time and time again where they deny an issue for months and months and months, then all of a sudden they just correct it, and sort of cover it in a quick paragraph in their monthly newsletter. It's one of these, Eduard are phenomenal in where they've come from and what they've achieved. But there's a degree of ego that sometimes gets in the way of the product being the best it could possibly be.
I mean, it's Eduard are a triple
21 MF all over again.
Yeah, I mean, Eduard are a triple A company. They're not a cottage industry. They're not a small company. They're a triple A company that produce some of the best products that are available to modelers anywhere on the planet. It's as simple and straightforward as that. Their aircraft collection is absolutely top drawer. It's at the top of their game. You look at any of their etch, look at the masks, you look at any of the stuff that's coming out at the moment, the detailing sets that's obviously created using 3D technology is extraordinary in terms of its scope and its detail. They are a AAA company. Now, over the years, there has been a million words written, a million voices heard, a million opinions passed on about Tamiya decals. Tamiya decals are too thick. You can't apply them. They don't go down. They don't settle down. All complete rubbish. Complete nonsense. The idea that Tamiya would compromise anything in one of their boxes with a subpar product is so ludicrous. I can't even wrap my head around how you could even begin to think that. And everybody says, oh, well, it's your application. If you're not, we'll say, use the right products, they settle down properly and everything. And everybody's and then you get accusations of bias. You're just writing this because you want the free kits and all. No, I write it because I've got experience of using those kind of things. Now we've got a situation where the decals in the kits are genuinely not good. And we've still got this kind of battleground of, yes, but I like the way they get applied. Well, that's fine. I get all that. I genuinely do. I think, if you're happy with them and you can get the best from them and they suit your purposes, that's brilliant. But they don't suit mine. Decaling to me is the single most important part of any model I build, aircraft model I build. It's literally the most important. It's not putting it together or the paint finish or whatever, because if those decals don't operate properly and those markings don't go on the way that I want them to, I may as well just toss the model in the bin. That is the fundamentally, I don't know whether you guys agree, but fundamentally, once I get to the decaling stage, that's where it takes it from another grey aeroplane to what I'm modelling.
It's definitely, it's one of the make or break points, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's one of, quite often I would suggest that if the painting goes wrong, you can correct that. If decaling goes wrong, for the most part, you've got a problem.
Yeah,
if you haven't got another sheet to fall back on, and your decaling goes wrong, you've got a problem. If the paint goes wrong,
I tend to agree with Paul Boyer of Fine Scale Modeler, who says that decaling or decaling, we're getting pulled up here on pronunciation. MF Doomer TV says British people be like deck L's, it's decals. Well, we say decals and you say it incorrectly. Anyway, no, I don't mean that.
Well, don't they say aluminum?
Well, but that's correct. No, I'm not going to have that argument. The Americans are correct.
Hey, actually, come to think of it, you did argue about this a couple of weeks back, didn't you? You said this is correct.
Yeah. Actually, MF Doomer is correct because it's a contraction of decalcomania, so it should be decals. But
can we just stick to stickers?
Yeah, I
like stickers. I think that's a great.
Let's just use stickers, and then we don't have any of this nonsense.
Yeah.
Do we?
Anyway, I agree with Paul Boyer that he says that applying the decals is his decals is his favorite part of a project, and he said that if he could get people to build and paint models, and all he had to do was apply the stickers, he'd love it. He'd absolutely love it.
I feel the same way. To me, the payoff for all of the construction and painting is that I get to sit here and put all the decals on.
But quite often you find that in terms of the discussion we have here, no, it's not even a year ago now that I physically removed some Tamiya decals, stickers from their backing sheet. I cleaned all of the adhesive off. I let them dry. I did the same with a couple of cartograph decals. And then I took them to work and measured them with a digital micrometer.
Ooh, right.
Well, I did a whole post on it, and did a whole post on it, and the difference was around about 1/10 of a thou, which is 1/10,000th of an inch in thickness.
Oh, good grief! That's a
and I posted that with evidence and somebody said, yeah, but the black is the thinnest one, so that's not. So I did it again with the thickest of the Tamiya decals I could find, and the difference was still less than 2/10,000ths of an inch between them and an equivalent cartograph. And people still said I was wrong.
Yeah.
People still said I didn't know what I was doing. People still said I wasn't approaching it scientifically accurately.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know what I can do other than measure it with a piece of aerospace measuring equipment I use as an inspector at work.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that obviously I'm biased, right? In as much as that I think the stickers are probably one of the most important bits that go into a kit. And it always
were up until cutting masks came in and you became redundant. But other than that,
good luck cutting masks for your tiny little stencils, matey boy.
there's too many of them anyway.
Too many pointless stencils. Exactly. The thing is that we can kind of go back to if you.
That's why we have these for John's decal sheets.
Give me strength. Right. When we go back a decade or so more,
we've got another one of John's decals to do.
Right. We go back a decade or more when a certain British manufacturer was releasing kits with decals that were, shall we say, not very good in terms of the actual printing quality, and people were just like, and quite rightly so, because it is not. I always argue this is not something you can skimp on in terms of an expense. Actually, we're going to look at some more kits here at the moment because we've got some more ancillary kits to look at. But yeah, I just don't think you can skimp on the printing. It's got to be a certain standard, and that's it.
Yeah, I think so. And it's.
I mean, Rob Mumphy there saying, anybody got any experience of HGW decals as they use similar process? Yeah, Rob, they're perfect. There's no problem at all with them. I've used them numerous times, and they're absolutely perfect.
I mean, the weird thing about the decals, one of the things I mentioned today as well was that I agree with Drew that the release of the carrier film is actually a red herring in this entire process, because if you leave that carrier film in place and settle the decals down as a normal decal, those decals are so thin. Actually, if you seal them in with a gloss varnish and then seal them in with a matte varnish, that carrier film completely disappears. The stencils that I put onto the Spitfire, without removing the carrier film, they do literally look painted on because they're so thin. But that's kind of irrelevant. But those decals are so small. The lettering on them is so small, and they're relatively sharp as well, so it's not a problem. It's the bigger ones. It's where you've got blocks of color. Drew showed some photographs of the check markings, I think, that were on that mesh.
Black and white are fine because they're solid block colors. Everything else they do is done in electrotone or digital.
Yeah. It's a screen shading.
It's not screen printed. It's done with digital printing, which means you get a very visible pattern and a variation across the surface.
What it is, it's where they're doing it through. They're not printing it from solid color. They're printing it from process color. So what you're getting is everything is being built up of halftone patterns. So as it's going through the printing process, everything is going through that half-toning process. And I've seen people used to refer to it as dot matrix. And it's like that's not what dot matrix is.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those colloquialisms that people get. You know what people. What people are getting at. It's like, you used to see low visibility grey markings in monogram kits in the early 80s were literally done with white and a black dot pattern over them to give the grey. and you looked up close and it looked. Now, this isn't that clumsy, but it still gives a roughly analogous effect. And you can clearly see there's an issue.
And you say that, and I've got the Revell America boxing of their Lockheed Ventura, which is a beautiful kit, absolutely beautiful kit. But this is a Revell America boxing, so it's not Revell Europe. And the decals, decals, stickers, transfers in that are done using process printing, and they are just like those monogram stickers from the 80s and 90s. They're very glossy. And the moment you look at them, you can immediately see the black half toning on them where they're done through a process printing, process printing. Yeah. And it's like, we're talking about relatively, we're talking about recent within the last 5 years that a kit was going out onto the market with that as being seen as, well, that's good enough. That's good enough for our customers. Whereas Revell Germany, on the other hand, they use Cartograph, they use Zanchetti. So talking of Cartograph and Zanchetti, I think we will move on and do another one of our unboxings here, because what we've got is we talked about this the other week, but we've got it's Italeri's Ford Escort Zaxby GR2, which is a beautiful car, absolutely beautiful. And if I just switch over to the other camera for a second, here we go. What do you get in the kit? You get one black sprue, which is made up of the body pan and the interior panel. So essentially, Italeri mold this so that you could build this without paint. And I did that with their Volvo last year. It was an interesting experience. It's not something I like doing, because unpainted models just look like unpainted models. But yeah, here we go. So this is, let's just pull this up full screen for a second. There we go. So this is the Escort. So that's your bits that are molded in black. So you've got your seat, your body pan, the interior parts, parts of the suspension, the dashboard, the roll cage, the light grille, the gear stick and suspension bits, windscreen wipers. So yeah, there's a logic to how they've kind of molded this. Then you get a silver sprue, and the silver sprue has things like the exhaust. It's got the engine, you've got the wheel hubs, you've got the axles, headlights, other bits and pieces in there. Mostly all kind of like detail bits and pieces, more bits of suspension and everything. Bear in mind, this is a kit from the kind of like mid-ish 80s, but it's a lot that some of the parts are a little bit furry around the edges, but it's still kind of like it still looks like it builds up quite well. I didn't have any problems with the Volvo I built. It was it was actually quite a nice kit. And I actually mold some. I don't know if you can see that down there. I actually mold some buckles as well, which is a nice touch. Then we have the main body parts, which are molded in blue. So we've got. Isn't that just a fabulous looking car?
It's a very nice piece of molding, isn't it?
It is. I'll tell you what. It's nice plastic. But isn't that just a fabulous looking car? Really, seriously.
It's a Ford Escort. It is just glorious, isn't it?
Yeah, I love this era of Escorts, and it reminds me of my late uncle was a mad Escort fan. They get the bonnet and some of the bumper work and whatever, and then we have 4 rubber tires. Love them or loathe them. Then we have the clear parts. I'm not going to take these out, but there you go. You've got the clear parts in there for the windscreen, the lights, the indicators, etc. Now, let's go. Let's take this back to the discussion in hand. And what we've got here is a rather nice instruction sheet from Italeri. You got this one, which is in gloss black. Isn't that just a fabulous colour scheme?
I like that. That's really nice.
It's absolutely gorgeous. That is, in fact, the only scheme you get in the kit. There's an addendum bit there, but that's the only scheme you get in the kit. But it is in this kind of overall gloss black scheme. Which, yeah, why they molded the bodywork in blue? Probably because it's from an earlier iteration. But I really quite fancy building this one, because I like Jen did with that Mercedes the other year. I fancy building something like this, but then doing some very light dusting and weathering on it to make it look a bit, a bit kind of used and everything. But the decals, let's get on the decals. Shut up, JM. Show us the decals. And here we go. And these are printed by Cartograph. So you are guaranteed absolute top dollar quality, and these are just absolutely stunning. Even down to, I don't know if we can, I'm just going to zoom in there. If you look, you've got the seat belts. Seat belts actually have buckles molded in silver. And you can see how close the carrier film is to the items. Cartograph specified 0.06 mil. All the colour traps are this is what we're talking about, colour traps. All the colour traps are right on the edges. They are so close, you know, that you're not getting any of that that kind of half mooning, you know, that kind of halo. What you're getting is this is as perfect as you can print a decal, and that's a reason why Cartograph are seen as probably the premier decal printing company out there, because what they do is absolutely peerless. I mean, it's just, gentlemen, isn't that absolutely, that's a work
I'm
of
looking
art.
at those buckles, and even the buckles have got black edges as well, which is phenomenal. So they looks like they've got real depth and thickness. So it's just that, you know, and not too many months, stroke only a couple of years ago, this is what you'd get in an Edward kit.
Well, I'm saying this is what you get, and this is aftermarket quality in terms of printing and everything. Absolutely fabulous. I mean, it's the kit itself is old, and it's probably not the best example of a 1/24 scale car these days in terms of detail and everything. And like I say, it's going to need a little bit of finessing in order to deburr some of the edges on things. But other than that, it is you know, it's worth it for the decal sheet. The decal sheet is just, that is a work of art. It really is. Love it. I absolutely love that. And like I say, I'm not really a Ford Escort fan, and I'm not really somebody who builds a lot of cars. But when this plopped into my hands the other day, I was just like, yeah, I got to build that. We got to build that. So,
and that,
yeah.
And I would be tempted as well with that not to seal. I put those decals on, but not seal them on. To try and reflect them looking like vinyl stickers rather than.
I might do that.
You know, so you've got gloss finish underneath, but just have the decals and just, you know, buff them over so that there's a definite stand away from those markings. Andy King's put on there that he recalls articles about those Escorts in scale models. In fact, that car in that scheme was on the front cover of one of them. So yeah, he's right.
Yeah. No, that is just absolutely, you know, brilliant stuff. Right, we've got another one here, chaps, that we're going to just have a quick whiz through and talk about. I read somewhere that the colour scheme isn't 100% for that particular model of Escort. Something to do with the headlight configuration. Quite possibly, Dan. I think Etileri have probably just fudged it slightly in order to, you know, bring the kit out. But I'm only going to be building it straight from the box, so I'm not going to get too hung up on those kinds of details. Right, we've got another one to talk about here. And this will probably interest the pair of you because it is Sea Harrier. But this is just a straight reissue of the previous issue of this kit. And rather bizarrely, for a kit that Italeri are marketing as Falklands 40th anniversary, none of them are actually Falklands aircraft. Make of that what you will. And bear with me. I'm just going to open this up. So we are doing live unboxings here. Who was it out of you two that was building an Italeri Sea Harrier recently?
Me.
Right.
Behind me. It's behind me.
What stage are you with that?
Bear with me. I will.
Let me just call you up on screen.
So yeah, the main fuselage is together. The wings are together. So it basically where we are is detailing the interior and getting the nose.
And what are you finishing that one as?
This is going to be one of the barley grey, medium sea grey Falklands 809 Squadron aircraft. Is the plan.
Yeah.
Because they're my favourite. They're my favourite Mark Ones.
Okay.
So that would be the plan for this. I think I'm right in saying there is a couple of differences in the Italeri retool. I believe the is the Pito separate now?
The Pito is no.
No. Okay. It's a straight. Okay. I thought I was under the impression the Pitot was separate because some of these kits that they've reboxed, they have made some changes to.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it still remains 39 years after it was released. This still remains the best 72nd scale Sea Harrier.
Well, we'll show you,
and it's not even close.
No, well, we'll show you here because here's this anybody who's built the GR3, the GR1, and the Sea Harrier. Well, this is a familiar sprue because this is pretty much common across all three kits. And I mean, I'm looking at this here. I built the GR1 a couple of years ago, but I'm looking at this here, and the surface detail is still just absolutely. I'm going to zoom out a bit. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's just, that's gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah,
that was when Eschi really were
3 or 4 years.
Huh?
For that 3 or 4 years, they were pretty
world beaters. Yeah,
because this was at a time when Hasegawa was still sort of 50-50. Some of their stuff was recessed, and some was still coming out with raised detail, like the A10 and stuff. It was
the A10 and the Mirage F1 were all raised panel details. Then they did the Harriers, which were recessed, albeit the Hasegawa Sea Harrier looks like it's had a bit of a shunt because it's short in the old nose.
I would really rate the Hasegawa GR3 and FRS1 if the noses were right.
Yeah.
And ironically, it would be the easiest thing for them to correct because they're on their own sprues.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's the fuselage sprue. So that's common across all their Harrier 1 kits. Then we have this sprue, which gives us the fin with the RWR. You've got the Sea Harrier pylons. You've got the slightly shorter air brake. If I'm right, aren't I, Drew? It's a shorter air brake. Yes. Yeah, it's a shorter air brake on the.
Because you've also got the blanking piece behind it. Look for
which is why if you look at the Sea Harrier at Yeovilton on the ramp, it's got a GR3 air brake.
Although interestingly, every Harrier you build should have that blanking piece in because the actual larger air brake, the back of the larger air brake just sat over the fuselage.
Yeah,
it didn't go into a recess.
No.
And also, the very last GR3s built in 1985-86, the Falkland replacements, they also had the small air brake rather than the large one.
That's
there you go.
We're all learning things here tonight, folks. There you go. So there's that's your noses. So that's got your pitot tube molded in, which and we've got the Sea Harrier pylons there. So that's that. Then we have, this is another common sprue across all the kits. So you've got your wings, your drop tanks, your sidewinders, intakes, tailerons. One of the things I do like about this kit is how they handled the hot and cold nozzles. Too many Harrier kits split them in half, which is an absolute pain dans le derrière. This isn't. This is they've done them kind of like sideways, and then when these parts drop in on the top there, they're fairly easy to blend in. Quite frankly, the only thing I didn't like about the Eschi kits, and this is carried over to the Atari kits, the gun pods are terrible. They're just absolutely useless. It's just the shape, everything about them is off.
Better than the Airfix Sea Harrier kit.
Well, yeah, but that's no, they're off. Sorry, I don't like them. But the drop tanks are quite nice. Anyway, we're talking about decals. Oh, we got the canopy there as well, which is which is the Sea Harrier canopy, so it's different to the GR3 and the GR1. Anyway, let's get to the decals, and I got a bit of a sinking feeling coming along here now, folks. We have 801 Squadron HMS Invincible in overall dark sea grey. Then we have 700 A Flight RNS Yeovilton, which I've always got a soft spot for that scheme. I think they look nice. Then
the 700 A Squadron was a really nice colour scheme.
It was extra dark sea grey and white. Then you've got this one, which is 300 Squadron INS Vikrant, which is Indian Navy, which is in extra dark sea grey and white as well, which is where they followed through from the Royal Navy scheme. Some of the later Indian aircraft were actually in a two-tone grey scheme. Then some of the later Indian aircraft were in an overall pale grey scheme with toned down roundels. Anyway, there are your colour schemes. Nothing wrong with those colour schemes. They are three quite nice and quite interesting colour schemes. It's just a pity but none of them are anything to do with the Falklands. But there we go.
And the roundels on that.
I'm coming to it.
Grey.
I'm coming to it. Yes.
Yeah, they're all wrong.
They're not. They're not all wrong. They are. They're not even slightly wrong. They are completely wrong. They're just off completely. The
size on the red and blue ones for a start, they were all 18-inch, weren't they? On the dark sea grey aircraft.
Yes, I'll have to go away and check that, but I do believe you are correct. Yes, on these ones, well, just everything's off. The blue ring is too narrow. The white ring is too. They're just off. They're just terrible. Unfortunately, they're equally terrible on the Indian ones as well. They're just, they're not even close to usable, unfortunately, which is a shame because everything else kind of pretty much, everything else is passable, I think is a good way of putting it. These are printed by Zanchetti. They've got a nice glossy finish to them, but this is the flip side to Edward. Edward's stuff is probably very, very well researched and accurate, but it's terribly printed. The research on these is a bit woolly, but the printing is first class. Look at that. It's just gorgeous. So, that's, again, I'm probably going to have to build one of these at some stage, but I'm going to have to be slightly disingenuous and replace the roundels somewhere because they're not up to it. I'm sorry. They're wrong. They're not even slightly wrong. They're completely wrong. Which is a shame, but because enough information is out there, and unfortunately, it does seem to be a bugbear with Italeri that they just can't seem to get British schemes right a lot of the time.
Forever.
We're boring you, Spence.
No, I'm just catching up with my son.
No, but it's frustrating that Italeri do aim stuff at the British market, which is good. And then they drop the ball with the decals, which is annoying.
Bad. Which is bad.
Just seeing that Sea Harrier and the other members of that family, I haven't built a single Italeri stroke Eschi Harrier of any sort ever.
You haven't?
No. How is that remotely possible?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to keep my outrage under control.
But then I haven't built a Hasegawa one either, other than the Frog kit crossover. Haven't built or even owned any of the Fujimi ones either. I avoided even buying the Airfix Sea Harrier because it's so terrible.
It's just not good. I'm sorry. It's got to be said. It's a shame because
it's awful. I got banned from the Airfix kit forum for my review of that.
It's one of those things, and I'm probably going to get somebody who's now going to make a complaint somewhere that I was being slightly negative about the kit, but it was just one of the first generation kits that they were doing from about 12 years ago. And this was before they got all the designers in who are now there, and it was very much a learning curve, and it just didn't quite make the grade, unfortunately.
It's honestly it's a terrible kit that basically should be just like consigned to history. Because
and the thing is, we saw with the new designers only a couple of years, 4 years later with the GR1 and 3. Which is an absolutely superb little model. Very minor error with the tail aside. It's an absolutely superb model. That tail error is correctable in about 3 minutes with some Cicard and Super. I've done it a couple of times. I wouldn't say numerous, twice at least. But it kind of led you to hope that perhaps at least an FRS1 would be would be quickly on the way from that set of toolings, because it's a beautiful. If they'd done that, I would have said, it's kind of taken the trophy from the Eschi kit.
I mean, I almost feel that you'd be better off just cross-kitting, just taking the nose out of the Sea Harrier and seeing whether you.
I have actually considered that. But yeah, you almost would. But yeah, it's a real shame. But because they did an FRS1 and an FA2, I was really looking forward to it. But it's there's so many fundamental inaccuracies with it when you compare it to how a Harrier should be.
I took a review for military in scale while I was there from Nick Greenall. He reviewed the Airfix kit for military in scale, and it got to the point where I was reading through it and he was going through everything piecemeal. I thought, I'm not entirely sure I can print this because,
well, like I said, Spence, I was that honest on an Airfix kit forum and got banned for it because I just wasn't prepared to, because I was so absolutely horrified at what turned up in the box when I opened it. I was trying. I thought I can try to be nice about this, but really, no. This is one of the biggest dropped balls I've ever seen.
Yeah,
like I said, it was one of their first. It was one of the first kits that they, it was one of the first of the this is going back 14 years now, and within about 3 or 4 years, you then had the GR5/GR9, sorry, GR7//GR9, which is worlds apart. It's just completely different, completely different thing. Then you had the GR1s and the AV8As and the GR3s, and again, and it's just, it was just. I choose my words carefully, but it just felt like they were kind of like a bit of a hangover from a previous kind of like era.
Dan Wood there. Is the Airfix Sea Harrier just inaccurate, or does it also build badly? Dan, I have no idea. I was so horrified by the accuracy, I never bothered building it. So somebody else will have
one. I have one up in the loft that's got that's a combination kit with a Skyhawk. I think it's one of the dogfight doubles, and the only reason it's up there at the moment is because I was thinking of cross kitting it with because I've got a GR1 actually. And I was thinking, I wonder if I could use the nose and do a conversion and see, because if you were to do that, the rear, the nose is not that egregious. The issues with the nose are kind of fine, but it's the rest of it that's terrible. And we're not over egging this for comic effect. It is terrible.
No, it's awful. Jerry Dore there saying he's building one at the moment. Is there actually a completely accurate kit of the FRS1 in 72nd? The Eschi kit is as close as you're going to get. It's really, really, really nice and accurate.
Yeah,
I would say Eschi, then Fujimi, Hasegawa, Pinch, Matchbox. Shape on that isn't bad. There's no detail, but the shape on it isn't bad. But that's it, really. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a damn shame, but but yeah, it just goes well. It goes to show is we will on this show we're never going to big up a kit if we don't think it's particularly great. And in this instance, there you go.
Mike Richardson's and the thing is, all three of us are quite passionate about the Harrier.
Yes,
so we've all, it's a kit. It's an aircraft. It's a type that has a place in all three of our hearts.
Indeed.
So, when it's right, we will shout from the rooftops. When it's wrong, we will shout from the rooftops.
Mike Richardson's just put in there is about building a 48 scale Harrier. Is there an accurate one? Just going by the kinetic kit. He's building a GR1 and said a bit of reading I've done. It's not accurate. By the kinetic kit, it's absolutely bang on. It's literally almost micrometer accurate. It's
and the other thing to say is, but I'm enjoying it. Well, there's an entire argument all itself. But I'm enjoying it. The kit's doing its job, then, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, as somebody that's about to build both the Tamiya FRS1 and the Tamiya GR1 that you managed to find on the internet for an upcoming project, I'm going to be in the same boat pretty much. So but yeah, you literally cannot go wrong with any of the Harriers from Kinetic. They're all absolutely stunning straight from the box.
I must pick up a Sea Harrier. I built the FA2. I must pick up. I want to do the twin seater and an FRS1 at some point, just because of my current obsession with the medium sea grey, barley grey Falklands ones. I'm still mildly obsessed with them.
Yeah. I got to say, to just big up the home team for a second here, is I built the Airfix 48 scale Sea Harrier FRS1 a couple of times. In fact, one I remember going back 20 long time ago years. I had to build one in record time for a presentation at Yeovilton, and I just literally built it. I'll see if I can find the pictures. Actually, I just built it, just primed it, painted it, picked out all the panel lines with paint. I didn't bother rescribing anything or whatever, and that was it. And I still see photographs of it today, and I think I like that. I just liked it. The shape of the Airfix 48 scale Harrier FRS1, the shape is spot on. It's there's everything. There are some subtleties about the Sea Harrier which tend to get lost in the mix sometimes. One of which can be slightly over-egged is that when you look at it from in a plan view, the fuselage isn't parallel from the intake out towards the nose. It swells slightly.
Yeah.
It comes around like that, then it goes in. And Drew, you've picked up on this before about just that shape of the Sea Harrier, where it fares into the cockpit and everything.
Yeah. And also the something that's quite often not captured correctly is the nose cone shape. The Sea Harrier has a beautiful ogive shape to the nose cone, which is very, very often just portrayed as a cone. Which is wrong. If you look at a Sea Harrier and really focus on the nose cone, you'll see it's got an absolutely beautiful curve to it. Yeah, and all too often it's just represented as a straight cone.
I think the other thing is that just found a post from you, Drew Manton, my favourite Sea Harrier scheme of all time. There we go. The other thing is that there is
that an 809 Squadron one on Ascension by any chance?
Yeah, it is an 809 Squadron one on Ascension or whatever. I'll tell you a Sea Harrier story in a minute. Actually, the what's its name one? The Airfix Sea Harrier. I'm just trying to find. I'm sure I've got some pictures up. I've got some pictures up online here of it somewhere. This is the 48 scale one, but yeah, I just literally banged one together. And bear with, I'm just going to see if I can find these photographs. But no, Spence, I'm actually quite shocked that you've not built any of the Eschi 72nd scale Harriers.
No, and I have all of the kits as well. I have Sea Harrier, I have the GR3, and I have the re-release of the Aviator.
It just seems that Spencer can always find a way to make me reassess our friendship.
I don't know.
I did mention that there are certain things though that sort of fit in this rather weird hole of my life. In that, my favourite transport aircraft is Hercules. Never built a kit of one. My favourite RAF subject, other than the Harrier, is the Jaguar. I've never built a Jaguar.
What?
My favorite four-engined aircraft, post-war aircraft, is the Orion. I've never built an Orion. Never built a Viggen. I've built a Draken. I've never, despite the fact that I think it's the best aircraft to carry RAF post-war markings and camouflage in the Phantom. I've never built a Phantom in RAF colours. I've built loads of Phantoms. I've never built an RAF Phantom at all, ever. So it's not unusual for me to have missed certain things, really. So
I really think the Jaguar was due a revisit in 48.
Yeah, I think it is as well.
So do I, please. Come on.
Aircraft.
It is, yes.
When Drew and I, when we were at Cosford, going back, blimey, it's probably going back 10 years ago, and we walked into the hangar and they had the ACT Jaguar in there, and I was just like, I just melted. It's a beautiful airplane.
I was having a look at that. I was having a look at that a week or so ago, actually, and it's still absolutely glorious.
Here we go. This is my Airfix 48 scale Harrier FRS1. I didn't do any rescribing. I didn't do. Honestly, I had to build this in 5 days for the Fleet Aero Museum. And there you go. And it just it
still looks great.
It still looks great. The only slight additions on that were I added some of Tim Perry's RBF tags, and also I made a an intake guard out of plastic guard for the simple reason I couldn't be bothered to paint the demarcation lines inside the intakes. And that is always my go-to cheat, is if you can't be bothered to do it, you make a FOD guard. Just cheat your way out of it. But yeah, this is an old photograph. Goodness me, this was taken with 35mm film. And but yeah, it looks like a Shah. It's just got that kind of like pointed delicacy about it that the Sea Harrier FRS1 has. And the shapes are all spot on. Then that's the FA2 that I built from one of the test shots, and this is going back to 1990 something or other, a long time ago. And again, that was straight out of the box. The only thing I put on that was some RBF tags, and I think made some intake blanks because again, I'm still lazy. But other than that, that's all straight from the box.
Did that one appear in scale models?
No. Well, yes, it did. You're right. It did. That did appear in scale models.
Because I remember my sort of first sort of, I guess, experience of reading your stuff was that model. And I remember you saying that you'd put little dots of oil color on it and drag them back across the surface of the model. So yeah, that was the first time I
invented that technique. People, I invented that technique. I didn't. Sorry. No, but that was
out there actually. That was weird.
Yeah, that was my go-to trick for kind of like if I couldn't be bothered to rescribe a panel line, I'd just like, well, let's just create it with paint.
Cover it in mud.
Well, it was, but prior to that, it was that. All right, we'll do one last thing for tonight because we've gone past the hour mark, so we're just having one last kit for tonight. And this one I am particularly excited about because this is the second time I've had this kit recently, but I'm open to hang on to this one because the other one ended up with you, Spencer, and it is the Italeri Crusader. But this one comes with the figure set. And I had you can see the picture on the side there. I had the figure set back in about Christmas 1978, which was great. Just couldn't afford the tank to go with it. So, excuse me. We'll quickly whiz through this here. So this, like I say, this is a personal favorite of mine in terms of, ancillary kits. Here we go. And yeah, Crusader tank. What can you say about it? They didn't go the route that Airfix did with their 32nd scale kit in kind of doing the double skinned hull. So they've kept it reasonably simplified here. So you've got all your road wheels, which again, for a kit of its age, it's going on 45 years. It's all still actually exceptionally sharp. It's not too flashy. It's it's a few bits where you're gonna have to deburst stuff, but other than that, no. I actually think this is still an exceptional quality kit given the age. You've got the basic bathtub, which is all one piece, so that's good because that's going to be nice and strong. It'll speed up construction as well. Like I say, then you've got the side skirts there. You've got the rest of that kind of Christie suspension, double skinned hull there. You've got the gun, which is in two halves. You've got the fuel tank. You've got some stowage. You then got some figures, which, well, I'm going to say they're probably not the best examples of figures ever. They're all looking a bit looking a bit like they've been in the sun too much, but they're salvageable for the simple reason that Francois Verlinden used these figures, and he was able to make a decent fist of it. Then you've got the upper hull. There's your turret. Stowage box, everything else, Pioneer tools, yada yada yada. So that's that. Then the extras through here, and this, like I say, this is going back kind of like 40 odd years for me. And here are your kind of like ground personnel, some of which they're not bad. They're not. I mean, Monty looks like Monty. The rest do have that slightly odd pinched look that Italeri's figures often had. But again, I've seen Francois Verlinden build and paint these, and they're in actually one of the Verlinden Way books, and he's managed to make his figures look presentable. So what I am going to be doing is I'm going to be chucking this Crusader together. You also get a thing there with some a trestle table and some guns and things and other bits of stowage and stuff. So I'm going to be chucking this together to create a little kind of vignette / diorama out of it. And yeah, there we go. You've got your let's wind out a bit. You got your color schemes, and that's that's it. So it's a combination of the Italy Crusader tank with the British tank crew set that was marketed separately by them. So by no means state of the art, perhaps. Rubber band tires, tracks, but I'm not going to. I can deal with them. And then a rather nice decal sheet. Here we go. That is printed by Zanchetti, and that is really nice. The colours are nice and sharp. There's no ghosting around the edge, despite the fact that they've used a white trap on them. They are glossy, but that's not a problem because when you slap them down on a glossy surface and then put some varnish over the top, that'll kill it completely. They're not thick. These look thick. They're not thick. But so that's it. That's Italy Crusader, brilliant stuff. I'm really looking forward to doing that one. So, any questions? That's the one, Spence. That's the one. And when you see it, it looks great.
It's not the first time. Just as a little history lesson about that diorama, it's not the first time that Crusader appeared. He actually built another vignette with that Crusader on that appeared in military modelling when it was first released in the 70s. But what he did, and in fact, all of the 4 models that are on that diorama appeared in other vignettes. But what he did is he collated all of those 4 models into a much bigger diorama. But you can see that a couple of the figures that are in that set here.
Yeah, the kneeling one with the gun, Monty with his cup of char.
So you can sort of see that's what appears in there. But that was my very first 35th scale model. When I first started out, the Italy Crusader, and even today it still looks great. It looks really, really nice. It's tidy. It's sharp. It builds up nice. It's pretty easy to put together.
Do I detect the burgeoning, blossoming blooms of a Crusader challenge?
Not at the moment, but possibly.
No, fine. No, it's fine.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is the thing.
Unless you can add another 10 hours into each day for the next 4 months.
This is the thing. Somebody said to me the other day, "You've not done any challenges for ages," and it's like, no, because the world, thankfully, the world's managed to get back on its feet compared to 2020.
People are actually working now.
Yeah, people are actually working. I never stopped working, incidentally, but I'm carrying. We're all kind of having to go back to a reality of some sort. So we would like to do a challenge at some stage,
definitely.
But we just.
I think if we're going to do a challenge, I think it's likely to be the Walker Bulldog fast challenge.
I think it's going to be.
Yeah. But also I'd like to just put this in front of the camera just to tease why I probably haven't got room to add anything else into my life at the moment, and I'm just going to put that there.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Dan asks,
and I'm just going to leave it at that, really.
Yeah. Dan asks a question. Where are we? Goodness me.
Hold it with a thud.
Yeah. Phil Prisk says, "But are you sure you haven't built these kits? Remember the truck you didn't remember building? That's Spencer. Yeah. That was
it's a very good point. But no, I genuinely haven't built those kits. Yeah. And they're all models that I would like to do at some point, particularly the Orion. I'll say that again, the Orion.
The Orion,
which is, I mean, glorious in every possible way, I think.
Yeah.
And
got a question here from Dan Wood. He says, "Is the Airfix 48 scale Sea Harrier closer in quality to the Lightning or their BAE Hawk?" No. It's the 48 Sea Harrier came out about 1984. 83, I think. 83. It's nicely accurate. It's not greatly detailed, but the shape is good.
There you go, John. You've got a challenge.
James Tainton says, "I take up your challenge. I have one in the stash." Jonathan, okay, well that might be a challenge. It might not be in the next month though, James, for the simple reason. Yeah, we got the get out here. Brilliant, because Andy King says, "Is Airfix August still on?" It is. I'm working on a poster, so. Keep your eyes peeled, folks, because what we should be doing, launching this on Sunday, because we all know what Sunday is, don't we, folks? You know what Sunday is? No? Drew? No?
Start of
August,
football season for us.
1st of August, finally. Yes, the 1st of August. The penny drops. So we are going to...
Sorry?
Ignore him. He's just tired.
Start of the championship football season. It starts on Sunday.
It's the return of sanity to the airwaves.
It is.
So we will be launching Airfix August on Sunday. But I can tell you at the moment, just anything Airfix, doesn't matter. Anything, cars, trucks, tanks, planes, ships, figures, dinosaurs, Anne Boleyn, you name it. Anything Airfix. I was thinking of limiting it and saying, no, it's going to be Battle of Britain era aircraft because it's the August being kind of like Battle of Britain month. Perhaps we should do that. What do you reckon, chaps?
Just open it, just Airfix, just build an Airfix.
Right, fine. Yeah. So it's going to be anything Airfix. I will be building my 24 scale Spitfire. Mark 1, not the Mark 9 Spence. And I'm looking forward to cracking on with that because it's nice to return to a kit that I had as a kid but never built because Dad thought it was too complex for me.
Are you ever going to let this go, or is this just going to be something that's just going to percolate
Was
through
he wrong?
everything?
Was he wrong?
Yeah. Honestly, I could have been caught up in that rockfall down at Sidmouth this week. Did you see that on the news?
Yes.
Yeah, that rockfall. Thankfully, it's a section of beach that's always closed off because of the rockfall. But I could have been accidentally caught up in that, and they would have pulled me from the rubble. And my last words would have been, anything you're going to say, I'm going to say, he never let me build that Spitfire, and that was it. That was his last words. So I'm never going to let it go. Never going to give it up. Never going to let it go.
See, now you've mentioned that Spitfire, I'm thinking, I really want to build that Hurricane.
You should. That big Hurricane's beautiful. It's a beautiful kit.
Yeah,
it could form the basis of a book, Spence.
It could. Unfortunately, next month sees me tackling another large-scale RAF aeroplane in the form of Tamiya's Mosquito. So I'm not entirely sure that I'll be able to build Tamiya's Mosquito and a 24-scale Hurricane in August.
How long do you reckon it'll take you to build that Mosquito?
2 weeks, I'm thinking.
Well, that kicks you into touch, doesn't it, Drew? How long did it take to build yours?
Look, it might have taken me 12 weeks.
Listen.
And you had a head start. I built some of it for you.
At the moment, it makes it sound like, I don't know, to be honest, because today I thought I had big plans of stuff to do today, and all I ended up doing was writing that damn decal section and laying the pages.
I take solace in the fact, Spence, that this is your job as a professional. You spend 40 hours a week doing this as a job. I spend 2 hours an evening on my bench.
Exactly. I'm so glad our viewers are on the ball because Sunday is the 31st. Monday is the 1st of August. Exactly. I'm glad you spotted that deliberate mistake, Pike. It's I spotted my deliberate mistake.
I guess the question, James, is: are you laughing at him or with him?
Oh, at me, absolutely. Honestly, I'm not here to give you serious thought. I'm just here to make you smile. Right. Any other business?
Not from me, no.
I don't know. No. I don't think so.
No.
Did I mention that?
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
you did mention that.
Yeah, you dropped that with a thud, and that joke completely went by people.
It's very good. Yeah, it's quite good. You're doing some saber rattling there, Spence, aren't you?
I'm planning
Super.
to.
No, that's not a Century series. Yeah, throw that joke out. You can give that one back to McIntyre.
Super Saber was.
Super Saber was.
And that's some super saber rattling there.
There we go. Drew rescues it at the last minute. On that note, it just remains to say thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. We've got a bumper crowd tonight. Goodness me. It just makes me wonder that we've got so many people watch this nonsense who haven't got something better to do with their time. But we appreciate you coming along and giving our lives a sense of.
We got a bunch of people presenting this nonsense who've got nothing better to do with their time. So
I thought I had tonight, but look at me.
Turns out no.
It's either that or we just be sat outside shouting at hedgehogs. It's just So on that note, folks,
I can say though with some conviction that Sunday's very unlikely being the start of the football season, because I'm
No,
pretty
we've written
sure
you off
that
already.
alcohol will be involved at some point on Sunday.
Well, I'm just checking my watch here. I'm doing another show in 15 minutes, and yeah, the alcohol will be involved in that as well. So, but yeah,
Shall
we'll
we,
be back.
shall we say Sunday's not happening right now, so you two can get your football fix?
No, no. I can do my football fix easy. We can do my football fix. Incidentally, come on, you Lionesses.
Oh yes, indeed.
Actually, Spence, I'm just going to say, whilst we've still got Drew on here, we'll just elongate this a bit more just to annoy him. But did you see those goals?
I did.
Yeah.
I have to say,
did you see that back heel flip?
Fabulous. Yes.
You see that back heel flip?
Yeah, and also Saturday is going to be quite the day for football, isn't it? Because it's the European Championship final on Saturday, but it's also Liverpool-Manchester City final, isn't it? Isn't that Saturday as well?
Oh, so the women's Euros is Saturday, is it?
Or is it Sunday? I can't.
I thought it was Sunday.
Oh, maybe it is Sunday then. So the weekend is going to be something along the lines of you've got Manchester City, Liverpool, then you've got start of the Championship, and then you've got Lionesses. It might be Sunday actually. That would probably be right.
I think it is Sunday. I will be. If it does clash with the show, the chances are actually we won't do a show then. But if
I think it's Sunday night actually.
Okay. Well, hold that thought, folks. We're going to have to check.
Right, get ahead of that and let us know.
Yeah.
Do you want me to check now so that you can make a decision?
Check now. Go on, check now.
Get ahead of that and let us know.
I'll put the mood music on. Here we are.
Sunday being the 35th. Yes, set 5 o'clock, John. It's Sunday.
Oh, that's all right. I'll be over by 7:30, so that's fine. We'll just do an 8 o'clock show. So we will be back on Sunday, folks. Don't worry. Drew, you're around Sunday, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you hate football, don't you?
Yeah.
That's
No, I
fine.
don't hate.
So-
No, I don't. I have to be honest. I don't hate football. I'm just not interested in it. There's a difference.
That's fine. No, we could do a show where
there is a difference.
Drew does all the talking. I'll just be in the background, kind of like nodding and stuff and whatever. So anyway, right. On that note, what a shambolic end to the show. Goodness me. On that note, or by our standards, actually pretty good. So on that note, just to say thanks to everybody who's tuned in. Sorry we didn't give you a name check tonight, but we will give you a name check on Sunday. As always, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you Sunday. So bye for now.